Welcome to this explainer. Right off the bat today, we are tackling something that is literally one of the biggest, most annoying frustrations for anyone studying Jyotish. You know what I'm talking about. Trying to unlock the actual underlying power of the Navamsha chart, or the D9.
So let's validate a problem you have absolutely faced. You pull up a main Rashi chart, right? You see this beautiful, exalted planet, or maybe one just sitting super comfortably in its own sign. Its Mahadasha rolls around, you are expecting absolute fireworks, and instead, crickets. Nothing. Or it's just really diluted and delayed. Why exactly does that happen?
Well, it comes down to this. The D1, the Rashi chart, is really just the broad stroke of what you are given at birth. It's the seed. But the D9, the Navamsa, that represents what you actually become. It's your developed capacity over time. Think of the D1 as the promise and the D9 as the actual delivery. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the classical foundation, then look at how to construct the D9, dive into dignity and Vargadama, explore the marriage chart, discuss what happens after age 35, and finally wrap up with a practical reading framework. All right, jumping into section 1, the classical foundation, anchored in the Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra. Now, what is absolutely crucial here is that Maharishi Parashara himself dictates that the Navamsha is never an optional chart. It is present in every single divisional scheme. As we can see, it maps the Dharma and Bhagya. Basically, it reveals your deeper evolutionary purpose and the actual, tangible fortune you are going to manifest. If you don't understand this deeper purpose, you are literally only reading half a horoscope.
Moving into section 2, constructing the D9 chart. This is where we get the mathematical fine brush.
Navamsha translates literally to the ninth part. It takes a standard 30-degree zodiac sign and slices it up into 9 perfectly equal parts of exactly 3 degrees and 20 minutes each. And it's this extreme mathematical precision that explains why 2 people with the exact same Rashi placements can end up with wildly different life outcomes. Because of that math, planets sitting just a few degrees apart in the main chart scatter into completely different realities in the D9. The starting point actually depends on the D1 element. Fire signs start calculating from Aries, Earth from Capricorn, air from Libra, and water from Cancer. So, practically speaking, a planet at 14 degrees Aries sits in a vastly different Navamsa reality than one at 17 degrees. It's a total game changer. Up next, section 3, why the D9 overrides the D1, and uncovering true planetary capacity. To really grasp a planet's actual capacity, Parashara introduces this concept called Vimshopak Bala. It's basically a composite 20-point scoring system that weighs a planet's dignity across multiple divisional charts. It's there to mathematically prove whether a dasha is actually going to deliver what it promises. And look at the weightings. Out of those 20 points, the D1 Rashi chart gets 3.5 points. But right on its heels, the D9 Navamsha carries 3 whole points. It carries almost as much standalone weight as your primary chart. So when classical astrologers tell you to always check the Navamsa, they are pointing straight to this exact mathematical reality. Which brings us to the absolute gold standard of planetary placement, Vargatama. This happens when a planet occupies the exact same sign in both the D1 and the D9. When you see this, you know there is absolutely no internal friction. The external reality perfectly matches the soul's internal capacity. There's this brilliant quote from Mantrashwara's Phaladipika that is just so vital. It tells us that internal alignment often trumps external, technical exaltation. Even if a planet isn't exalted by its sign in the D1, if it is Virgotama, its results during a dasha are going to be pronounced, highly consistent, and really unobstructed. Okay, section 4. The chart of marriage and dharmic partnerships at the soul level. Since the Navamsa is the 9th division, mapping to the 9th house of Dharma, it perfectly reflects marriage, which is a deeply dharmic institution. Let's say you have a chart with a really powerful Venus in the D1, but it's debilitated in the D9. Outwardly, they might seem super charming, romantic, the whole shebang, but behind closed doors, they might deeply struggle with genuine intimacy and sustaining a real bond. On the flip side, a weak Venus in D1, but a highly dignified Venus in D9, shows someone who maybe isn't conventionally romantic on the surface, but they have the incredible substance required to build a deeply fulfilling, enduring partnership. You just can't guarantee marital bliss without checking the Navamsa.
Moving to section 5, life after age 35 and when the Navamsa really takes over. Classical Jyotish holds that the Navamsa becomes your dominant predictive lens after around age 35. By the time we hit 36, something profound happens. All the major planets, concluding with Saturn right there at 36, have fully matured. Their raw D1 significations have largely played out. So the D1 has set the stage, and the D9 is now running the second act. It's kind of like an astrological midlife crisis, but in the best way possible. This is exactly why massive midlife decisions, second marriages, sudden career pivots, deep spiritual awakenings are completely driven by the inner calling of the Navamsa.
Finally, Section 6, a practical D9 reading framework applying these classical rules.
Here is a 4-step framework that answers almost every question about a person's later life. First up, analyze the D9 ascendant and its lord. This shows you exactly where the life energy concentrates. Second, find the Atma Karaka in the D9. Third, check the 7th house for relationship harmony or any challenges that require maturity. And fourth, whenever you're making a dasha prediction, always verify the dasha lord's dignity right here in the D9. Now, regarding step 2, finding the placement of the Atmakaraka inside the Navamsa creates what Jamini calls the Karakamsha. This reveals the soul's absolute deepest desires. For example, if you have a sun Atmakaraka sitting in a fire sign Navamsa, that points to a soul destined for authority and leadership. Locating this single point basically unlocks the overarching purpose that's driving the native's entire second half of life.
And remember, integrating the D9 isn't some trendy modern innovation. It's literally demanded by Parashara, Mantreshwara, Kalyanavarma, and Jaimini. Every major classical text in Jyotish treats the Navamsa as a fundamental requirement for accurate prediction, especially when it comes to the inner strength of planets and those big midlife shifts. So I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder as you pull up your own charts tonight. You see what was promised at birth through the D1, but without the D9, are you really willing to accept seeing only half the picture of your destiny? Always check the Navamsha. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring the fascinating depths of these charts.